It's time once again for the SaskAgToday.com Roundtable. I'm GX94 Agriculture Director Doug Falconer. I'm joined by the Chief Agricultural Editor for SaskAgToday.com, Kevin Hursh, as well as the 620 CKRM AgriNews Director in Regina, Ryan Young. Good afternoon, gentlemen. And I guess first of all, we'll start off with the latest crop reports from Saskatchewan and Manitoba. Saskatchewan's crop report suggests that 95% of the harvest is complete in the province. Manitoba is at 85%. Your thoughts on those numbers, Kevin?
Well, I don't think there's been a lot of progress, and you'd know better than I, coming from that East Central region, Doug. That's, I think, where some of the largest percentage of crop is still to be harvested, and I imagine progress was probably pretty slow over the past week or more. Is you guys got a fair bit of rain, right?
Yeah, that's right. We've had a rain on and off. I talked to some people even just earlier this week. I think it was on Tuesday. They had like a half an inch, so that's really going to slow things down. We're at 90% complete here in the East Central region, but I know where Ryan is in the Southeast, and of course not far from Southwest in Regina. Things there are probably almost done. Is that right, Ryan?
Yeah, pretty much. Depending on where you are, you're pretty much over that 90 percentile or right at 90%. And also kind of depends where you are too and how much rain you got. Some people, they got scattered rain showers. Some got larger ones. I know the report said that the larger rains range from 30 to 45 millimeters. So there has been some more harvest progress since the previous week, but just kind of slowed down a little bit. It's been pretty damp and farmers haven't been able to start combining till the afternoon.
Yeah, I know for Manitoba at 85%, it sounds like right now, though, it's pretty much all canola and flax that's left out there.
And it's the same for Saskatchewan as well. Just canola, flax, those are the remaining acres to be combined. And interestingly enough, when I was talking with Matthew Struthers, the provincial cereal specialist with the Ministry of Agriculture here in Saskatchewan, he was saying that producers were hoping for some frost to kind of stop the regrowth of flax due to the recent rains. And I just kind of thought that was a very interesting point. You know, with frost, you think like you don't want any frost, but I guess in this case, it kind of is needed. You learn something new every day.
But it's my understanding too that in some cases, canola stems have stayed really green, and the frost might help that too. There was heavy frost on the west side of the province where my farm is located. We were -5, -6. It got darn cold. That certainly is a killing frost. But in this area, harvest is pretty much all cleaned up. So I'm not sure the heavy frost hit the areas that could really use it. And flax, sort of like sunflowers, in many cases, you do need frost to bring it around and get the green out of it if you haven't used a desiccant or if you're getting late in the season.
All right. Well, I know, Kevin, you've been analyzing the latest reports when it comes to the precipitation maps. What were you able to glean from that?
Well, I found it really interesting because Sask Ag in their crop report puts out a weekly precipitation map. And it's based on all of the reports from the volunteer crop reporters across the province. And their map is September 26th up until October the 2nd. And they show a really good splash of rain in much of southwest Saskatchewan, where I'm located, one of the best rains of the season, 1.5 inches, almost 2 inches in a fairly large area, and at least an inch in an even broader area, and also some rain up in the northeast, and not much in the east central or southeast except around Broadview. Now that's up until October 2nd, and it just so happened that Environment Canada produced a accumulated precipitation map for the week ending October 5th. So once you add in those extra few days, you see that there was, in fact, heavy rain in southeast and east central Saskatchewan, and actually all of Manitoba had really good rain as well. Doesn't quite reach Regina. Regina and sort of a strip through there, north and south, down to south central Saskatchewan, and then also northeast of Regina had less, but you don't have to go very far east of Regina, and you get into pretty decent precipitation totals in that inch or more for the week. But interesting how the analysis changes just by including a couple, 3 extra days when you're in a major rainfall event. And certainly for the dry areas of Saskatchewan, particularly southwest Saskatchewan, that received a really good rain, that's money in the bank for next year. It really improves spirits and improves hope that we'll have some soil moisture going into 2024.
And I'm pretty sure you're pretty happy about that, Kevin.
It's marvelous to see.
All right, and one other thing we wanted to talk about, Ryan, was the merger between Bunge and Viterra, and we heard that 4 groups came out and are asking the Saskatchewan government to investigate it to see if it really should go ahead or not. What were you able to find out, Ryan?
Yeah, so the Agricultural Producers Association of Saskatchewan, or APAS, Sask canola, Sask barley, and Sask wheat. One of the reasons why they wanted the provincial government to do this review is because they've been hearing a lot from producers, the concern about the reduced competition and an option or two less to market your grain to. So those are one of the reasons why they want the province to do the review. And another reason is it's based on precedent. It's not the very first time Saskatchewan has done a review into mergers, especially in the ag industry. There was the one between Glencore and Viterra back in 2012, and another one between BHP Billiton and I'm kind of blanking on the other one right now. Potash Corp. There we go. There we go. Yes, Potash Corp. Which that one, if I remember correctly, that one fell through. Now, I was only a teenager at the time when these things went through, so my memory is not that great when it comes to those things. But precedence is another reason, too, why they want the review done, and they think that they can do it.
One of the complicating factors in this is that the G3 elevators are partially owned by Bunge, and nobody knows for sure, but the speculation is that Bunge's share of G3 is now about 25%. It is a little bit strange, though, because if you go back about 10 years ago, there weren't any G3 elevators at all. So the G3 elevators have come up. Now G3 also has a huge new export terminal on the West Coast. And again, Bunge has a share of that. So I think it's probably really prudent to do an analysis and look at where there may be competition concerns. But at the end of the day, I'm not sure the Competition Bureau or the policymakers will decide that this is untoward. Now, if you go back in history and some of these things, I can remember at one point in all of the mergers that took place between Prairie Wheat Pools and United Grain Growers, that in order for one of those deals to go through, a terminal at the West Coast had to be sold. And that's now Alliance Grain Terminal, which is owned by 3 individual grain companies, private grain companies. So there could be some demands that Bunge reduce its share, or that in some cases elevators be sold, or but again, that's something to speculate about. But it will be interesting to watch as this slowly unfolds, as these things do.
Yeah, it sounds like Transport Canada is doing a thorough investigation of it, and it's going to be at least until June of next year for that. So it sounds like we'll have a bit of a grace period yet for everything to shake out.
And that's one of the other things the group said too, all 4 of them, is at least that there's this long time period where this review is being done, where every aspect of it is going to be looked at and combed through, to give producers some peace of mind.
Now, Ryan, you also were wanting to talk a little bit about that exchange. I guess there was an exchange during a Commons or a Senate committee or something like that regarding the Trespassing Act at the House of Commons. What happened in that situation?
Well, when I heard it this morning before putting the feature together, I kind of laughed a little bit because it's something that you don't hear quite often when it comes to things in the Commons Ag Committee or the Senate Ag Committee. It's a lot of times pretty civil. But anyway, the context of it is yes, Bill C-275. That's a private member's bill put forward by Tory MP John Barlow. And it's an amendment to the Animal Health Act, which basically makes it illegal to trespass onto chicken farms or farms in general. And one of the catalysts for that is he made reference to a farm in Fort Macleod, which I believe is in his riding. There was a group of animal activists that were trespassing onto this farm. And when the owners got up to the barn, they noticed, I think, between 30, 40 people that were in this barn, quite a few people. And it was apparently by design. They wanted to be caught. They called 911. They said, hey, we're trespassing on this farm. And it was basically, in their perspective, to raise awareness of animal abuse. But on the other side of the coin, that wasn't the case. The owners argued that there's nothing wrong here. We followed the rules. So that's one of the reasons why the bill was put forward. It was a similar bill in the last parliament before it died when the prime minister called a snap election. So going through to today, the lawyer for animal justice advocacy group, I suppose, spoke to the Commons Ag Committee and really used some strong language before the committee. She was saying that farmers are dirty. They use dirty needles, shared needles. They treat animals poorly, as well as brutally killing animals. So really some heavy stuff, like not really pulling any punches. And one of the members of the Ag Committee, Tory MP as well, she's also a farmer herself. Now, the name obviously escapes me at the moment, but she snapped back at the lawyer and said, have you ever been on a farm before? And the lawyer said, yes, I grew up in rural Prince Edward Island. And the MP responded, so have you grown up on a farm? Have you been on a farm? No, just around enough farms. Okay, well, have you ever taken care of livestock? And she said, no. So it was just this back and forth, trying to get this lawyer to understand, like, farmers, they don't, butcher animal. They don't abuse animals in any way, shape, or form. So it was quite the exchange. You can also hear it on the Sask Ag Today podcast for 620 CKRM to hear the full exchange. It was really quite spicy.
All right, anything to add on that, Kevin?
It was. I listened to the exchange that Ryan had on 620, and it was pretty amazing to see a lawyer cross-examined that way. The lawyer was trying to claim for the animal activist group that people in a barn don't represent a biosecurity risk. It's needles and other practices and wild waterfowl and all of this other. And that's certainly just not the case. If any hog barn that has biosecurity, and increasingly chicken barns as well, you have to shower in and out. It's that kind of, and that's been in place in hog barns for a long time, all due to biosecurity. So unwanted visitors certainly are a biosecurity risk, despite what this lawyer was saying. And it was good to hear somebody call her testimony to task.
All right, and when it comes to livestock, there's an event coming up here in Yorkton in just a little under a month. It's Harvest Showdown, Grain Miller's Harvest Showdown. There's going to be commercial cattle show and sale, a whole bunch of different things. And I had a chance to speak with one of the co-chairs, Brett Callan. We had him on our shows today, I believe, and just talking about the first deadline to enter their cattle is coming up next Thursday, October 12th. So just something to keep in mind if you're interested in entering a pen of 3 or a pen of 5. Just go to yorktonexhibition.com and you can find all the information there on all the contests and competitions they have going on here in Yorkton. And that runs November 1st through the 4th. Anything else you guys wanted to add?
There was something about a special award that people could apply for. What was that all about?
Yeah, it's a Young Ranchers Award that they're going to do this year. So they're taking nominations till October 17th for that. But just to recognize some young ranchers under the age of 40. They said preferably in the Parkland region, but I guess it doesn't really matter. And just to submit their names and give a reason why they should be honored, and they will select one, and they will be announced at Harvest Showdown next month.
And it's going to be a good event too. That's always a well-attended event.
Yeah, there's cattle, of course, and there's always like even grain competitions. There's little sheaves of wheat and that get judged as well. So it's not just cattle and that, it's wheat and canola and all that sort of thing. So it's pretty interesting to check out. Okay. Anything else, you guys?
Should be good, Doug.
All right. Well, I think that'll do it for this week's SaskAgToday.com roundtable. On behalf of 620 CKRM AgriNews Director Ryan Young and SaskAgToday.com's Chief Agricultural Editor Kevin Hursh, I'm GX94 Agriculture Director Doug Falconer saying so long until next week.